tumble back in the hole. I wanna rip my script apart. I wanna love you where you are. I just don't know. 'Cause when we fight, it starts feeling like 500 nights alone.
All right, Avery Roper, we're here, man. We're doing it. We're doing it. So you listened to the last podcast.
I did, yeah.
You listened. So like, tell me your initial thoughts, like especially on the white privilege thing. That's what I want to cover with you the most.
Okay.
Because we didn't have any black people on that
Right.
podcast,
Right.
so I want to get your take on it. I want to hear what you think.
Okay. Well, I guess for me, speaking from a personal experience,
Right.
more so of a generalization. I guess white privilege. I don't know. Like for me, it's like case by case because I don't really deal with too many people who feel like white privilege isn't relevant. So
Okay.
I guess what's the question? Like,
So
how do I feel?
How do you
about-
feel about it? Yeah.
I feel that it's changing. More people that are white really don't feel that white privilege is, I guess, geared towards them as much as it used to be, because I think like the opportunities for white privilege are, I guess, shifting. Just I don't know how I want to word it, but
yeah. So what do you mean by geared towards them? Like, what do you?
Well, I guess we're faced with the same obstacles, but not all of the same obstacles.
Okay.
So when I say like white privilege isn't geared towards everybody that's white, I feel that it's case by case. So when I see white privilege, I think of, you know someone that knows someone else that I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm more qualified than you for a particular job. Let's just use that as
Okay.
an example. And so in my mind, I think that's when white privilege comes into play, because now you have a leg up on me, but you're not qualified for the job. So you get that job, but I don't get it.
So you think that sometimes employers hire?
People based off of who they know and not what they can actually do.
Okay, and that's that is true, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
it's more who you know than what you
Right.
know. But that is, I wouldn't call that a racial thing, would you? Necessarily.
To a certain degree, because I feel that like most of the stakeholders, as far as like human resources and who's actually doing the hiring and firing, are predominantly white and not African American.
So one could make the argument then that white people are more connected.
You can make that
Like
argument.
connected, like they know more white people.
Right.
in a way.
But what I'm saying is, that's why I say it's like case by case.
Right.
Because that may not be the case in all situations. But I don't know. For me, I feel like white privilege can run a little deep, because I did work with someone who was like, well, and not knowing what kind of experience that I've had in my, career,
Right.
they literally told me that, well, I know this is going to sound like white privilege, but I know I can like walk into any interview and get the job like that. Where on the other hand, you may not be able to walk into a job and get it like that. But I haven't been on any interview where I've been turned down. And so he was speaking out of turn.
Sometimes I feel like that's just like the kind of the mainstream thought.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like people believe in it, and
Right.
I'm like trying to red pill people, man. I'm trying to be like, I don't know, man.
Right.
I'm not sure. Like for sure, because we have statistics that say there's a lot more black people in poverty, right?
Yes.
Like we for sure have that, and for sure there was systematic racism before that put them in that, or could have put them in that position. Not necessarily like that's.
And sometimes it's a mindset as well, because if you think you can't do something, then you're not going to be able to do it. Because I know a lot of black people as well who say, well, I'm not going to do that because that's for white people. What does that mean? Like, I'm not going to be a police officer because white people are cops.
That sounds racist.
Oh, right, exactly.
It sounds racist.
That's what I'm trying to get, out that, like, okay, nothing's for black people. Nothing's just for white people.
Right.
Like, if you want to do something,
we're all people, man.
Exactly.
You know, like we're all people.
Exactly.
It's I
And
find that shit
I hear
silly.
that a lot, and I question like, okay, like what does that mean? That's for white people. Like,
dude,
who
I'm
told
so
you that?
glad that you, because like we're good friends.
Right.
I'm so glad that you have that mindset. You know, that you say fuck that white black nonsense.
Absolutely.
And you carry on.
Yeah.
Carry
I
on.
can use my example like going way back to college when one of my friends was like, well, you know, I was just getting a generalized opinion on how they felt about like the mascot and stuff. Well, I don't know. That's what, you know, white people are into that. And, you know, I'm sitting here like, okay, well, I am the mascot. So
Right.
what does that mean about, you know, what? How
Dude,
do you
it
put
means
me
you're
in that
white.
box?
Yeah.
I'm white. Man.
You're
I'm
white.
telling you. No one told me.
Yeah, man. You have the privilege.
Apparently.
We talked about the Starbucks thing in the last podcast. You know much about that at all?
I know a little bit, but not enough to speak intelligently on the topic.
Okay.
But
do you think Starbucks is racist? Maybe.
You know what? I'm
Maybe.
gonna say not all of them, but just because of like the whole thing that went down.
Here's the thing, man. Here's what I think.
This is case by case.
You're right.
It's case
Here's
by
what I
case.
think. If those dudes, well, okay. First of all, I talked about this on the last podcast, but Starbucks for sure has especially in like populated ass areas like Philadelphia where this happened, they have a no loitering policy, and they have like you have to buy something to use the bathroom. Like those are two rules, and I think sometimes they enforce them and sometimes they don't. And I think sometimes they do it to white people and sometimes they don't, and probably the same for black people, right? I mean, I've never been at this Starbucks, but I'm going to guess that for sure they've shut down some white people too. You know what I mean? They have that rule. I don't think they're just using it on black people. And here's another thing. And so when somebody goes up and says, "Hey, can I use the bathroom?" And they say, "Sorry, you have to buy something." For one, buy something, right? Like if that's their rule, just follow it. Don't be an asshole.
Or go somewhere else.
But to continue down that path, then you just go and sit down. Well, you've then drawn attention to yourself as, I'm not buying anything. Like you've gone up and told them, I'm not buying anything.
Exactly.
So maybe at that point, the person was like, okay, like you can't just sit in our restaurant. You got to either buy something or get the fuck out. And you've drawn attention to yourself. Like it's possible if they just went in there and sat down, they probably would have been left alone, right?
Right. So do you think it was the employee trying to flex their muscle?
Could have been.
Because, you know, sometimes people can... You never know what people got going on, you know, prior to you getting to them. So, you know, an employee could have, like, pissed them off, or another customer prior to that. And now it's just like, okay, like, I'm not dealing with another person. So...
Or
this is what you have to do.
that person could have gone up to him and like
rude.
rubbed him rubbed him the wrong way, even just like the way they talked to him, or seemed really annoyed that you weren't giving me the bathroom key. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, like it's the rules. Like you just and then like you could probably get a cup of coffee there for $1. And I've heard accounts of people going to Starbucks having to go to the bathroom and be like, fuck it. Give me the cheapest thing on your menu and the bathroom code. You know, I gotta piss or shit right now, man. Like this has to happen.
That's true.
Go ahead and serve it up. You know.
Right.
Like
I mean, you know, I know a few Chipotles. They have like bathroom codes, but there's no requirement on, you know, you either purchase something or use the bathroom. And my thing is like, I don't think that Starbucks should have that rule. Just simply because, like, what's the correlation? Like, if I'm with someone else and they're purchasing something, why do I have to buy something just to run to the bathroom?
that might be fair enough, but I don't think that was what happened.
Case,
yeah.
Right. But I'm just saying, like...
Well, you know why they have those rules, right?
Yeah, I know a lot of overdoses and people doing heroin in the bathroom.
And, like, homeless people come in.
Right.
You know, like, they don't want the
Stashing
homeless
out.
people stinking up the place. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I get that.
It makes sense. It's a fair enough rule, in my opinion.
Right.
In my opinion. But... man, I don't know. I just don't know, man. Like, I think that there is definitely an agenda with the mainstream media that's trying to say America is racist.
Right.
And they're trying to pit us against each other, right? Like, they're trying to make They're trying to make people not like each other.
Well, I see two sides of it coming from the media standpoint. I see the news, like, they'll pick and choose which stories they put out.
Right.
And you never hear the good news of, like, okay, this white person did this for a nice black person, and vice versa, a black person did XYZ for a white person.
Right.
You only hear this is what happened, somebody just got shot, hands up, or
right.
That
was a lie. That
situation.
One was a lie, where they were like, hands up, don't shoot. That was a lie. That didn't even happen. Like, the guy didn't even do hands. I don't remember the full story. I just remember that was a lie. Like, they were straight up lying that the dude was like, hands up, don't shoot. And then they shot him. That's not what happened. That one was just a straight up lie.
It's been so many killings.
Yeah, you're right.
Literally cannot keep count.
You're right,
on,
man.
Like, who did what?
What do you think of the NFL kneeling thing?
I respect it, because if that's something you personally believe in, if you're moved to do that, then I'm hands down, I'm saying, like, go for it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't see it as disrespecting the country, like some people are trying to make.
I'm with you. I don't either, but I see how other people could see it that way. Because, like, to a lot of people, the flag represents the military for some reason, and you can't ever disrespect. You're gonna go down to hell if you disrespect the military. You can't do it. Like, that's like.
And
that's practically
I have
treason.
A line of friends and family members, my brother, my cousins, all armed forces, military, Navy, Marines, even you.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't know. They didn't take disrespect to it, and so I don't see it as a representation of them disrespecting, like, the armed forces.
I don't either.
Or
I don't.
anything like that. I think they're just standing for what they think and believe is right, because everyone has their own perspective on things. And I think, that goes into, like, freedom of speech.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
You're expressing yourself. It's like freedom of expression. And so
I think it's kind of a silly way to do it, because for sure I think, or at least, if I were in that situation, I think I would have the foresight to be like, maybe people might misinterpret this. You know what I mean? Like, I think I think but you could see that.
At the same time, for Kaepernick, speaking directly on his, situation, sometimes people don't give you an opportunity to explain why you did what you did. They just, someone else doesn't like it, so now you're off the team.
So I might be missing it, but did they not give him an opportunity? I thought that they gave him some good coverage.
They did, but at the same time, I don't think the opportunity was in what am I looking for? I guess I don't think the opportunity was a fair opportunity, because after everybody else started kneeling, why didn't he get his job back?
Because he's what's the word I'm trying to think of? He's
The
kind of like
example?
baggage, you know what I mean? Like, he's got some baggage with him now, and people don't want that negative press, or that, because a lot of people who love football are the same type of people that might take that kneeling during the national anthem the wrong way. You know what I mean?
My thing is, like, I want everyone who's so offended, by everybody kneeling during the national anthem, I want them to be able to sing that song frontwards and backwards. Because if you're that patriotic, then I need to see flags in your house. I mean, everything. Because to me, it's football. You know, either you're going to support the team.
Well, and that kind of adds into my idea, or I think my idea is the best word, but my idea that the mainstream media is trying to pit us against each other, because they didn't used to show the national anthem on TV before he started doing that.
Yeah.
And then that's when they started televising it.
Taking out the Pledge of Allegiance in schools. Why aren't parents snatching their kids out of school for that? Because once again, that's symbolism, and I get that some people may be in their feelings about the whole situation, but it's not that deep. There are more pressing issues than people kneeling during the national anthem.
You're right. Yeah, For sure.
Like, you know, why didn't Fergie lose her endorsement deals for singing the national anthem like the way she did?
Oh yeah, that shitty.
Like that.
Was that at the All-Star game or something?
Yeah, you know, I watched that like a million times because I thought I was waiting for like the joke, and it wasn't.
Trying to find it.
I was like, what? Because she can really sing, and for her to sing it like that, I think that was her taking.
Somebody did it like that, but pulled it off before.
Because
I don't know who. Maybe it was like Marvin Gaye or someone, but it was someone like some soul R&B or like some kind of.
That was her taking like a singing nil, like, you know what, I'm not
Oh.
singing this right, so this is me kneeling on the song.
Maybe it was.
Took a knee.
But she would have said it right by now.
Or maybe not, you know. Maybe she's, because after that performance, she didn't say anything about it. I don't know. But, I mean, just back to the point, I think that the media can really misconstrue things, and then they have so much power and influence on what people are actually taking in, because people will take what they say at face value,
Right.
but then they won't go and do their research.
Right, they won't look into it.
The problem that I have. Like, if you're not going to do your research, then I don't need you getting on
Well,
your social
you heard the
media.
podcast. Steve is a perfect example.
Yeah.
You know, like he didn't know the story at all. He's like, Starbucks is racist. That was like his thing. And Steve, I love you. You know that. But damn, dude.
Yeah.
This thing is pointed towards me. I just realized.
A firm believer of, like, you know, research, and if you don't have the knowledge to speak intelligently, then, you know, I'm a firm believer. I won't say anything at all until I know what I'm talking about, so I can have an intelligent opinion, because I know some people just get to rambling and talking out their ass, and I'm just like, okay, here we go.
So you think that people that grow up in the black communities that are poor, you think that they aren't trying?
I don't think that necessarily. I think you're a product of your environment.
For sure.
And at the same time, you have to want more for yourself, because if you don't want it, you know, a white teacher or a black teacher or whoever can want it for you all they want.
It won't
but
matter.
It's not going to happen if you don't want it yourself. And that's the biggest thing about it. And I don't even think it's about growing up in, I guess, like a lower class community. It's just more of what you have inside of you to push you, because I didn't grow up in like what's the middle class, or
but you have a pretty strong family from what I remember, right? Like you guys
absolutely.
are all close.
Yep, absolutely.
That's
a strong
important.
family, and just about everyone has like a solid education.
Yeah.
And that's what I was raised on, like, you know, education, you know, you got to learn how to read, write, all that good stuff, and get an education beyond high school, because that's the only way that you're marketable to jobs, if you want something decent.
That requires a college education.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was listening to Joe Rogan. Do you know who Kevin Lee is?
I don't know.
He's a UFC fighter.
Okay.
And he was talking about his experience. And he lived in Detroit. And he lived on 6 Mile, I think, or 7 Mile.
Okay.
And he went to school in 12 Mile, but I don't know why I'm getting that far in deep. But my point is that he mentioned at one point that he didn't have people that were successful around him. He didn't know, like, he didn't see it. So he never really knew it was possible. I think that was an interesting point. Like, if you don't have those figures around you that actually brings, you know, he just had the dealers, the pimps, you know, like the kind of shit that goes on in those communities. And that was something that I didn't think about before, is like, you know, if you're in that kind of a situation and you don't have those role models around you, like you have your role model. I mean, obviously you have a link to the outside world,
right?
But you don't have those, like, people that are actually around you.
Exactly.
That are pulling it off.
And that's what I face living in Florida, because I come from a small town with like 2,500 people. And you don't hear, you know, you have to go to college. You don't hear that, you know, school is important. Only time you really hear it is when you're in trouble for some reason, and you hear like, okay, you know, you have to get your education. But then after that has surpassed, it's just like, okay, I'm just doing whatever. And I didn't really see the drive or know that college was like a thing until I actually moved out of the South and
Really?
came up here. Yeah.
When was that?
That was 2000 and
So not
like
even that long ago.
7 or 8.
Really?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
when did you go to college?
I started college
Like
in
2012.
No, 09.
Oh, not so that
Yeah,
the
so
year
I came up here
later.
during my high school years.
Who were you down there with?
Just my mom's side of the family.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
my dad's side of the family is in Ohio, and
Okay.
then my other family is in Florida. So basically,
That changed you, man.
it did.
It must have.
It did because now that I look back, I'm trying to think like what would I be doing if I stayed?
Probably still a synchrony on them phones.
Ugh, no. Absolutely not.
Yeah, it was a good way to get by though,
Yeah,
for the time being.
yeah. But for me, I just wanted more, and I still want
Yeah.
more as I'm growing.
Dude, I can tell.
So I don't know, I'm on this road of like evolution
Mm-hmm.
of myself because I don't want to be that black stereotype of, this is what I'm doing.
I think it could be in the head, man. I think it
Yeah,
could
it's
be.
it's
I
mind
think-
game, and it's how people are
Do you
raised.
feel
too.
oppressed? Like, do you feel like you're treated differently?
In certain situations,
Like when?
I can feel like when I'm the only black person, like the token
Really?
black. Yeah.
No
That's
kidding.
that's a real thing, and you can tell because
So what's the vibe like? What does that feel like?
it feels like you get one shot, and if you fuck it up, then that is it. Because if you like steer outside the realm of like what people expect of you,
So give me an example, because I'm not following.
as far as like what
Like what
Being a
one
token?
shot, like the one shot kind of thing. Yeah.
the one shot. Okay. A good example is when you're working in the office
Mm-hmm.
and you're like the only black guy. Like there's no black girl, there's no black anybody.
Can you say
but
where
you.
this was?
Yeah. It was at the University of Akron. I was the
Okay.
only black mascot,
Uh-huh.
and I felt that if I fucked up or did anything that I had no business doing, number one, I was gonna probably, get kicked out of the program and had just a harsher treatment,
Okay.
based off of my actions than
Now, was there
someone-
anything that was evident that made you feel that way, or is it just like a feeling?
Yeah, when someone keeps going over the rules with me, like, you can't do this, make sure you don't do that, like, but then you give it to my friend that's white, and you
Yeah.
tell them just one time, like, why do you have to repeat it to me 5 or
Right.
6 times? Like,
Right. Yeah.
I'm
for
just
sure.
as competent as they are, because
Absolutely.
if I weren't, I wouldn't be sitting right here.
Mm-hmm.
And I pick up on things like that, like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it, I get the rules. I hear you. And, if you're late, like, okay, like, just because I'm black, that doesn't mean I'm going to be late to things. But, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Dude,
And-
and that's in Akron.
Yeah.
Like
right
Akron,
here in
that has a decent black population, right?
Yeah. hmm
So that's odd.
But,
At the university, is there one?
at the university is predominantly white.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that could be.
And, yeah, because I noticed, like, closer to the end of my college career, I was, like, the only black student in all of my senior classes. And, that's not to say that the University of Akron is racist or anything.
Mhm.
I had a good time there, so
Yeah. No, that's not
nothing like that. But it just goes to show you where, things are at today.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little scary because I expected to see more people that look like me. Not to say that, I can't sit in a classroom full of white people, because I've done it and I'll do it again.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a mind thing. Like, if you're not raised, to go to school, if you're not anything, I don't think racism is global, but I think it's, once again, just case by case. And like,
You don't think it's systematic?
it is systematic, but I
Okay.
think that as a Black community, we have a part to play, but
What is that?
Our part is that we have to stop thinking that we can't, you know, live up to the same expectations that white people are living up to. And we have to know that we can do anything we want to do if we put our minds to it and if we just do it.
Anything anyone else can do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing that
I wonder
think
if that is
falling
because
short.
Because if you think about it, like any minority community that comes here gets the shit treatment at first. You know, think of the Muslims right now, or the you know, the refugees. Think of the Italians and the Irish when they got here.
Right.
You know, like people fucking hated them too. Or maybe hate is a strong word, but you know what I mean? Like they got the treatment for sure,
Exactly.
right?
And my thing is
They grew out of it, I think.
yeah, but for the Black community, since we were oppressed so long, it's hard for
it's like in your genes at this point.
It's really hard to grow out of something like that. And then it's even harder to grow when you have people on the news, you know, referencing them again, pretending like, oh, like racism is really a relevant thing right now. Yes. Like it's not something that's just made up. And then when I hear people say like, well, like I'm not that way. Okay, you're not that way, but that doesn't mean everyone else is thinking the same way you're thinking. You know, so you're one less battle that I have to fight. And it's
How is it systematic?
It's systematic in many ways. As far as like imprisonment, like
For sure, yeah.
Numbers are.
I'm talking more
outrageous.
like in the Starbucks thing. Like, is it corporate systematic? Like, is there like?
Yeah, I think it is corporate systematic. I think a lot of racism goes on until you get caught. Like that's when you're sorry. You know?
Really?
Absolutely, and that's for any job.
So how, like, what do you think is happening?
I think specifically for Starbucks, it's been going on for a while.
Okay.
And it's almost like I just said, like once you get caught, like now you're apologetic. Now you're trying to clean it up, close down this Starbucks and close down that Starbucks. But that really doesn't, you know, stitch the wound up because it has already happened. It took place. So you can say your sorries, but for me, I want to know, like, what are you going to do moving forward to keep it from happening again? What are you going to put in place? Are you going to put in some kind of training? Because closing down a few corporations and businesses is not going to do it because people have to be trained, just like they were trained to have malicious and racist intent. They need to be trained to not have that.
So, I kind of disagree with you a little.
Okay.
And here's where it might get real. But so Starbucks is closing down and they're having this unconscious bias training, which I think is the
so they are having training.
Yeah, they are.
I didn't know that.
I think it's the biggest load of horse shit. And here's why. Is because what it does is it teaches you, I think, because I don't think that you can change the way people think, especially unconscious thought. I think that's crazy, right?
That's what, like, ignorance is bliss. So they're ignorant to the fact that what they did was wrong. And so I think that training will come in.
So you do think what Starbucks did was wrong?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
and how so?
And just in the way of, like, you don't treat people like that. Like, you know, overall, it may have been like a sticky situation, but you know, if I put myself
But it was it because they were black?
It could have been.
Okay.
But
so you don't necessarily think that it was racist then? And I'll give you an example.
I want to say half and half.
Because there was a cop that went in, white cop, and he asked to use the bathroom. They gave him the same thing, like you have to buy something.
Right.
And that was a couple years before, and that was in a news article. And so for me, like it's possible that these folks pick and choose when to use the rules, but I think they've used it on white people. I think a lot of times it has to do more with attitude. But then again, that's why I have you here, because like maybe you've gotten that kind of shit. Because you have a good attitude. Like you're You know what I mean? Like, I don't see you going up and being rude or like, you know what I mean? So if that's
and that's
happened to
simply
you,
because I've worked in customer service for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and I know how it feels to be on the other side of the counter.
yeah, it makes you not like the person.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Like
it
really
makes,
fast.
I don't want to do anything for this
And
person.
in my mind, I'm thinking like, how can I get you out of my face as fast as possible?
Right.
And my thing is, of course, I would have let you use the bathroom, but at the same time, I would have probably like,
What if this guy came in
I
and he's
don't
like, yo, man, let me use the bathroom. And they're like, you got to buy something. Come on, man. You know what I mean? Like, he's being like a douche about it.
I would just say like, okay, our policy is to,
Mm-hmm.
purchase something.
And that, but what if
And-
that's what happened? I mean, we haven't seen the tapes. It's kind of annoying. Like, we
Right.
haven't actually gotten the full story. What we do know is that the cops went there and they were assholes to the cops too. Like, we ain't leaving. You're gonna have to arrest us. I think that's kind of stupid to say to the cops.
Well, it depends on the situation because I know if I feel like I've been wronged in something, and
Are you wronged if someone doesn't let you use their bathroom though?
Depending on the reason, like why aren't you letting me use the bathroom?
you didn't-
And I know you have to purchase something
Right.
in order to get the bathroom code, but my argument would be like, well, I'm not going to purchase anything until after I can use the bathroom because I'm not taking it into the bathroom. Like now I have to stand in the bathroom with my drink from Starbucks. Like they have to.
Well, usually
put a
they have to
better
make it though, right?
system
You might
in place.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe
yeah,
you're right.
you have
That's
to
a
make it.
decent point.
But my thing is, I might not want to buy something
Yeah,
right away.
we just don't know the whole story.
True.
But
Yeah, that's why I
but
think
would
Starbucks
you
should not
take
have that rule.
you arrest me over I'm not leaving? Like, is it real? Is that principle? Is that battle really worth fighting?
If once again, if
You can't
if
go to
you're
jail for
moved-
that, man.
If you're moved by what you believe in, I say stand like 10 strong.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm a firm believer in standing up for yourself. And if you
Yeah.
think in that moment you're standing up for yourself, I'm not going to stop you. Absolutely.
I don't know. I think you got to pick your battles for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Because you're going to end up dying on the wrong hill, man. You know what I mean? Like,
you know that to me that is picking your battle. But if you feel in that moment that hey, a light bulb goes off, and you say no, I'm not gonna take this type of treatment. And number one, I don't even know why the cops are here because it's not even that escalated.
well,
For-
maybe it was though. I mean, like, because she went over, presumably. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know for sure, but I think she went over to them because they drew attention to themselves, didn't buy
Mm-hmm.
anything, and then like, so they're violating the loitering policy, and so they know that they're here
I mean,
not
but
buying
that's
anything.
just another card that they can pull. Like, okay,
You're
I'm
right.
in Starbucks.
You're right.
A social place where people genuinely come and not even buy some things. People use Starbucks for meeting places.
Well, we don't.
So
True.
now all of a sudden it's like we're loitering. Okay, well look at those people over there loitering and they're on their laptops and
Right.
they haven't bought anything. You know, maybe they haven't caused a disturbance to bring attention to themselves, but they're loitering.
Yeah,
Like, period.
that is a fair point.
And
But we don't know that. We don't know for sure. Maybe they were a full house. Maybe they were a full house, and maybe everybody was a paying customer. You know, and maybe somebody
Possibly.
else wanted to sit down, and they're like, "Well, there's two guys that didn't buy anything."
possibly. But my argument would go like, okay, here's two guys. Why do we have to get up? Out of everybody that's in here.
Well, if everybody else bought it,
Oh,
I think,
everybody else bought something.
yeah,
Okay.
I think that's a pretty fair argument.
No, first come, first serve. First come, first
But
serve.
here's something that you do have to realize, or
And I get
that we have
everybody
to
have rules.
we have to recognize, though. I don't mean you. I meant we have
Mm-hmm.
to recognize that this is a private business, and they can do what they want. They can have whoever they want in their stores.
True.
And they can kick people out at will too. I mean, they can say, "All right, we're closed. Everybody out." Like, they have the right to do that. It's a private business. Is it bad for your public appearance? Is it bad for your reputation? Yeah, probably is.
Yeah.
But as a private business, you should be able to do as you wish.
True. But when your business is seen in a negative light,
Mm-hmm.
then that's when we're a business. We can do whatever we want to do. Is to me thrown out the window.
Well,
Because,
it should be
like, it's-
from a business perspective,
Mhm.
right? Like, it not because of a legal perspective or like I guess there isn't one. No, those guys are suing them, aren't they?
Absolutely, I would too.
You would.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because if you blatantly, try to, I don't know, I guess like ruffle my feathers or, put me into a box of what you think could have happened or possibly or like shoulda, coulda, wouldas maybe, then I can't stand for that, because then if I don't make a stand now, then it's going to happen to the next person and the next person, and it could have been ended with me. So let's stop it,
Assuming that it's there. I don't think that there's enough evidence to say for sure that that's what happened. I think it's possible.
Right.
Why
I don't know the history of that particular Starbucks and how they've treated African Americans throughout their business.
Right.
So, I mean, I really don't know, but this situation, it was that bad for it to gain all of this, media attention.
Well,
and then I know that the media can play up and feed off
I feel like that's what happens. Like, they've got everybody played up on level 7, right? Like, we're all like, racism. We're all looking for it, right? Like, we're all like, where is it? And then people get their cell phone cameras out and they're like, here it is, with little context.
Right.
And then everybody freaks out and they're like, oh, Starbucks. And then Starbucks is like, oh shit, what do we do? Let's have unconscious bias training. Like, I don't know, man. And are you, what is your political affiliation?
My political affiliation, I'm a Democrat.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, I believe
in the left, though?
Reading up on the policies and what people have voted for previously that I may or may not agree with.
Right.
And that's how I kind of base my decision on when it comes to voting. So I'm not going to sit here and just go to a voting poll and just Democrat. Like, no, what do you stand for? What policies have you passed that could have possibly, affected me in a negative way? I'm not just going to vote for you just because. Yeah. Like, so I do my research when it comes to voting.
So, but are you the left? Like, are you part of this leftist movement where racism is everywhere, transgender people are Jesus, and if the more oppressed you are, the higher status you have?
No. I wouldn't say I'm on the left or right.
Okay.
Like, I'm a firm believer in what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong.
Right.
If you have a certain belief, that has nothing to do with me. As long as it's not affecting me directly and the ones around me.
That's libertarian, man.
Then,
yeah, I
say go for it.
I feel
whatever
the same.
You want to do, I say do it, but within reason, of course.
Do you think white people are under attack right now?
No, I don't.
You don't think so?
Not at all.
So what about this stuff where people are
under
discounting?
In what regard?
Yeah, let me give you an example. What about this stuff where people are discounting their opinion just because they are a white male? You've heard that nonsense, right? Like, oh, you're a white man. You can't speak on this. How would you know anything about it?
Well, I think that comes from them speaking unintelligently for so long, especially when it comes to African American race.
Okay, that's possible.
I've seen so many, older, like, I guess baby boomer, like, white men say just wrong stuff when it comes to, like, the African American race, the history, and, like, well, black people shouldn't be, I can't see how they're oppressed, or I can't, empathize what they've been going through. Of course, because you're not black.
Right.
You haven't woke up one morning, with your skin dark and someone is feeling, afraid of you just because you're black. And I'm thinking, like,
Do you think that there's a legitimate reason for people to feel that way?
No, I think it's a trained thought. It's something.
Let me give you a statistic, and maybe that'll change your mind. Okay. So black people are approximately 13% of the population in the United States. They're responsible for 50% of the murder. And who is not committing the murder are black women, or the majority of it. And so that brings that statistic down even further. So that brings it down to about 6 to 7%. And then also not the children either, right? Like, not the little kids. maybe one or two, but the majority of it are black men that are committing 50% of the murder. Now, I'm not saying that if you're a black man, you're a murderer. Okay,
Right.
we're not getting ridiculous here. But what
Right.
I'm saying is that people have a base understanding that is the case.
Right. But my thing is that may be a statistic, but what resources are being provided for that not to happen? Because I've seen on numerous accounts where a white male will have a gun and a white cop will talk them down from, like, you know, either shooting or just give me the gun in general. But when a black man has a gun, you know, on the other side,
Or
the cop
doesn't have one.
or does not
Yeah.
have a gun. That's true. They just get really irate, afraid, and then they shoot.
So there's a statistic, and I don't know it well enough, but it does suggest that cops are more likely to be shot by a black person.
I mean, at this point, I would agree, but prior to, I don't agree.
Okay.
Because just because I'm holding a gun doesn't mean I'm going to shoot you.
I think that's a pretty risky scenario.
That is a risky scenario.
That's got to put you on level 10 right away.
As risky as a white
No,
man
absolutely.
holding a
No,
gun
I'm not.
and them saying, like, hey, you know, just put the gun down, calm down. Why can't I get the calm down speech?
There's a lot of factors, and the thing is
And
I'm not disagreeing with you.
oh no, absolutely.
But what I like to think about are explanations as to what would make sense. Like, what if the police actually have a relationship with that person? Like, they know this guy, they know what he's really trying to do. They
you know what that is? That's a bias, because just because I look like you, I shouldn't get fair treatment, you know, of my life.
Well, that's not what I'm saying. I'm giving a case by case scenario where, like, what if they knew this guy? Like, in that situation,
like talking them down because,
right?
like, I know you from the
yeah,
community.
exactly.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I get that, but you know, it's the job you signed up for. So just like you talk down Joe, I need you to talk down the other person.
Right. No, I'm with you. We talked about it on the last podcast. Was police reform probably should happen, because what they do,
I think a lot of these cops who, I mean, even if they don't have any priors, they should be reevaluated for their jobs, because if you're that afraid,
they make them that afraid.
A police officer.
When you go into training, you get video after video after video of shit going wrong and cops getting shot dead. And I think that's a terrible way to train them, because as soon as, like, something escalates, you're going for that, because that's the one thing that could shut that down.
Why something so lethal as shooting someone in their back
because
or
of bad
in their
training.
head? And I know, you know, some people shoot to kill, but we're not in Iraq. We're not, you know, in ISIS where, you know, shit is just going awry within seconds. Like, okay, you can disarm someone
or, like,
without
keep your
taking their
distance,
life.
talk them down. Like, yeah, there's absolutely other alternatives, and I'm with you.
But in no case are those alternatives being used. So that's
no case that gets put on the news and put in front of us.
True.
It very well may happen all the time. It's just you're never going to hear about that, because you only hear about the shit that either promotes their agenda, that America is racist, or because think about how many interactions with cops that black people have on a daily basis where nothing happens that goes wrong.
All right. Well, you know what? I can say I was just in Texas, maybe a month ago or less, and the vibe that I got from the cops were very present to that. I felt they really don't like African Americans, and
that was your vibe.
That was my vibe.
Okay.
Yes, because if I speak to you and in passing, and you can't even speak back, and you're supposed to be protecting me, I don't feel protected now, because now I feel like you're against me than for me, and you don't even know me from, you know, anything. Probably thought I was uneducated because of the way I was dressed at the time, or how I looked, or how I presented myself. But
do you think that could be a big factor as to the way people look at stuff? Is, like, if you're not dressed, like, think of those guys that
clearly spoke to this police officer, and he barely could open up his mouth, and that just shows me, you know, where we're at today. Like, why do you have this job? It's almost like people who work in customer service.
Maybe
if you don't like the job, then don't sign up for it. If
maybe
you're
I
afraid,
give people the benefit of the doubt too often.
I can't give you the benefit of the doubt when you knowingly sign up for a job that is risky. That's like me working at the Oriental House. I know that I live in the community.
So what happened in that situation? I want to hear.
What with the police officer?
Yeah.
Nothing. Like he didn't speak, and
but what did you say to, like, what was the conversation, or what was
what, it wasn't a conversation because he was so blocked off I couldn't even open the door if I wanted to, and I was just saying hello. Like it cost.
And what was his
to
response? What was his response?
Crickets.
Nothing.
Did
he like acknowledge you?
Not at all. And after he didn't speak out, I did say, well, damn, like I guess we don't speak around here.
Because anything after that?
No. He continued to walk away. I mean, it's just a hello. It's just a hi.
Maybe you just got an asshole, though. Like, is that possible?
That is possible, but they all look like assholes.
Well, look like or are?
I say 50-50.
50. You know what? I would agree. Like, a lot of them. I mean, because think about it. Like,
because I have some
what are you doing when you're a cop? You're not
friends.
You're not usually protecting people. You're usually writing them a ticket, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, that's probably the majority of their interactions with the public is like a negative interaction.
Not really.
You wouldn't think so?
No,
That's been
I have like a handful of friends that are actually police officers, and they are white. And I mean, I feel bad for them because I know who they are. Their
stigma, or like the bad cop stigma, gets put on them.
Yeah, it's definitely on them, like heavy. And you know, it's unfortunate for, you know, some white cops, but the other ones, they're making a bad name. And once again, the media is clearly feeding off of it with all they have. And I don't know. It's just, things have to change, and the media isn't helping the situation because we have a lot of people.
They're pitting people against each other, right?
Right, and we have a lot of people on the news who really they speak unintelligently every single day. I don't know who's doing the writing, especially from Fox. You know, they are very, you know, Republican, period. And they have their opinions, and that's what I have a problem with. Like, if you're giving the news, I don't care about your opinion. I want to know what the facts are.
Well, I think that's a bit ridiculous. Like, it's not just Fox that is doing that. CNN, MSNBC, they're very like CNN won't admit that they're left. Like, they pretend to be nonpartisan. At least MSNBC admits it. That
MSNBC, like, they give you, in my opinion, the hard facts. Like, and yes, it may be a little bit wish-washy in between, but it's more consistent than Fox
What do you think
News.
of the CNN town hall with that Parkland thing? You remember that?
No.
It was a disgrace. It was they had Marco Rubio, Dana Lash, and they had like a couple of those kids that I can't stand from Parkland, man. They just need to go away. But they had this whole crowd that was clearly one-minded thinking, like they were tribal, and they're screaming murderer at Dana Lash and murderer at Mark. Like, they're calling them murderers. It's like, you guys are clearly idiots. Like, you clearly have this mentality that is just bad, and it's not getting anything accomplished because you're going around labeling people murderers who haven't never murdered anyone or even probably come close to murdering anyone.
Well, going back to Fox News.
Okay.
I think Fox News I think they have bad blood on their hands.
Why do you think that?
Just simply because of how they report things.
I don't really watch it. I do watch Tucker Carlson, who I like a lot. And he's on Fox News, and I have no problem with him. He's very level-headed. He's pretty libertarian, which is my political affiliation. And,
gotcha.
But he seems pretty. He has the right mindset, in my opinion. Like, but that's the only person that I ever really watch, and that's on YouTube. It's not. I don't have cable.
Okay.
You know.
I mean, I really think that they...
Do you watch Fox News?
I don't.
Okay. When's the last time you did?
it's been long enough for me to not even know. But I know that when it comes to Fox News, I can't really take anything that they say serious.
But
because of
when do
how
you see it then?
When I see it, it's wrong.
When do you see it? On Facebook?
No, when things happen. Like, I actually see it on TV when there's another murder. I want to see what Fox News has to say about it. And, you know, get their opinion, I guess. Because they don't have any facts. And the way that they dismiss, you know, people's, you know, human welfare is ridiculous. Like, especially when it comes to African Americans. You know, when the Trayvon Martin shooting happened.
Okay.
Fox News, they found every corner against Trayvon Martin. And, you know, pictured him as like some black hoodlum from the streets who actually lived in a community close, you know, within the area. So it wasn't like he was just out of place like they, you know, painted him to be. And they just didn't have any hardcore facts as to anything that they were saying. They were just ass talking, pretty much. I'm just going to bend over and start talking. That's what I got from Fox News. And I mean, it's sad in a way because I'm looking at these people like, okay, you literally go home and this is what you think. Like, you actually think like that.
So I don't want to pretend, or I don't want to. I'm not a fan of Fox News or anything, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But what I do notice
and
is that
MSNBC, they have their faults too.
Right.
I'm not saying that they don't, or CNN or any other news medium. Like, they're all wrong in terms of keeping the fire alive. And, you know, they control how, once again, people think, because people don't go outside of what they say and do their own personal research.
Right.
They, like I said, they take it at face value. Okay, Fox News said that, I'm running with it.
Anymore, I feel like that's kind of like another mainstream ideology, is that Fox News is the devil. Like, they're this worst organization. And all I can speak for is Tucker Carlson. That's the only person that I've ever actually like taken the time to watch on there. And it's, like I said, it's on YouTube, and he for sure has the right ideas.
And I like Rachel Maddow on MSNBC. I really feel like she does her homework. She comes with the heat.
Well, there was she's done there's been some jokes like that she's done too, right? I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of examples from all the channels, but I feel like because Fox News is Republican or right, I feel like they're criticized a lot more heavily these days, and because we just came out of the Obama era.
What they say, they are very
for sure they were out of whack when Obama was.
They were very out of line. They were so disrespectful to him as a president, just because he was African American.
I'm gonna stop you there, because think of how much further CNN and MSNBC has taken it with Trump. And I'm no fan of Trump. I'm not trying to defend the man at all. But if you're gonna call out Fox News, you gotta look at the other side too.
For me, I don't really see Donald Trump as a president, simply because they have, at this point, you know, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, you know, liberal, whatever, they have allowed him to make a mockery of politics.
Absolutely.
And I don't think he has the backing or the knowledge to be a president. I would rather see George Bush or someone from his family run again versus having Donald Trump in office, because since day one, it has been nothing but investigation. And I have never seen a presidency under such scrutiny as this one.
Well, I mean, here's a way to look at that, though.
It's more pressing issues. Like, people are dying. People need medicine. But we're focused on what the hell he was doing with Russia and the votes. Like,
which there's been no evidence to suggest that anything has happened. So you think that there could be?
Yeah, I think that there's a strong chance that there could be. And I think the FBI is working on something that they're not telling anybody until they know, because they know that Trump has the resources and the money to stop that shit if he wanted it to. And that's why a lot of people are quitting. Look at Paul Ryan. He just up and quits because now he wants to play father. Get out of here, dude. You want to be the president of the United States one day, and you don't want what Trump has going on to tarnish your image and what you could possibly do later in the future. I don't blame you, but you should have never jumped on the bandwagon in the first place, because now you're guilty by association.
Guilty? Guilty of what?
Guilty of supporting. He supported
Trump. Is that a crime?
It's not a crime, but if you want to be the president, you have to take into account everything you do in politics from day one. Because as soon as you start running, they're going to start pulling out those papers. Oh, you voted for this. And look at what it cost people.
I'm glad that you brought light to that, because do you know what the deep state is?
No.
The deep state is the intelligence community. They're the people that can do that stuff and do it at will anymore. You know, like they pretty much have a free pass thanks to the Patriot Act, which was passed by George Bush, and the same thing was renewed by Obama. And the thing with the deep state is that if you're not their guy, then that's what happens. I think it's my opinion. I don't have, but these are the things the paths and the channels that I take. And I think that Trump's not their guy. He was talking about draining the swamp. You know what that means? Like, do you think the politicians that are in Congress, that they actually have our interests at heart?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, nobody does.
Absolutely.
Nobody does. And so when Trump goes in saying that kind of stuff, I think that freaks some people out, right? Especially the people that have the big money and the big checks.
Right.
And so, like, when you say you'd rather have somebody like George Bush in office, here's what I think, and here's another reason why I don't like the left. I think that someone very geniusly has distracted the left and sent them in the direction of racism and transgender rights and anti-hate speech, and Muslim people are great, and sent them in that direction instead of the normal direction that they would take, which is anti-war, because we've been in the longest war that we've ever been in since the creation of the country, and it's been against people in the Middle East who have never attacked us. The people that did attack us were from Saudi Arabia, and they're one of our biggest allies. And not to mention, right now we're going into Syria. Like, we've got this huge humanitarian thing saying that Assad gassed his people, yet our allies, Israel and Saudi Arabia, we're refueling their jets, and they're starving people in Yemen right now. There's a cholera outbreak, and we're more focused on this gas attack because we want regime changed, but we're giving aid to these countries that are doing much worse to a different country. And the left is now, instead of focused on that kind of stuff, which I liked and I didn't hate, they're focused on the white man is the devil. They're oppressing people. They're doing stuff. And I think more than a lot of people on that side, that isn't what white people are about. Like, do you think that white people in general are trying to keep the black man down? Do you believe that? I would think you do.
In general,
or do you think they're just going about their lives, trying to hustle, trying to get by, trying to provide for their family too? Or do you really think that they give a shit?
Well, I think that the white man, so to speak, I don't think they're hustling trying to get by. I think they're hustling. I think they're getting by. I think they're making moves, and they're doing everything that they have to do to take care of their family, period. However, when it comes to the black man, once again, case by case, I can say that they're doing what they have to do. But I don't want to say they're trying to keep anybody down, because no one can keep you down but yourself. And it's how you navigate the system. Yeah. And if you have any kind of like savviness about yourself, you won't let one person single-handedly hold you back from anything. And that's where I come in and I say, like, okay, you're trying to hold me down from this opportunity, so now I have to go and create this opportunity for myself. Since you won't, I guess help me in the terms of, doing what I need to do. So if I let you hold me down, then that's my fault. So I can't blame the white man for holding anybody down. But there's
do you
things
think,
in place.
like people like myself or my parents or just anybody in this neighborhood that happens to be white, do you think that they have an interest in prolonging black poverty or do you think that they even think about it?
I don't think that they have a invested interest in prolonging black poverty, but I think there is a unconscious.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think that? Just because the way you're treated?
Not because of the way I'm treated personally. It's you can tell by the way people navigate and how they do things. Even how they like look at you, like, or how they talk to you. Because I know for a minute, I had a past boss who was talking down to me, and I'm looking at my boss like, okay, yes, I might be working in this factory with you, but I'm way more intelligent than you. You're basically, you have to do this. Like, this is your career. It doesn't stop here for me. Like, I have like way more degrees than any of you in this building, but I'm not trying to like showboat or brag or anything. It's just a simple fact of the matter is, like, you don't know where I come from, so you automatically assume that I'm less than just because I'm sitting here before you today.
Maybe I think that people think like me too much, man. Maybe that's my problem.
Dante, I'm telling you, man, it's a stepping stone. And I think the more we have the conversation and the more people are comfortable talking black and white,
I gotta tell you, man, I feel uncomfortable saying black anymore.
You know what? I don't like the word black because black is a color.
Right.
I'm African American. That's what.
But that,
even
to me,
on papers, when I see black, I don't check it because
That's interesting.
Yes, my skin color may be considered black, but I'm really actually brown.
You know what's funny is, like, I told you about that podcast with Kevin Lee the other day. He's like, I hate African American. I'm Black American.
Yeah, see,
so you guys got to get together and figure this shit out, so us white folk know what to do here, man. You're confusing everybody.
My thing is, like, when I ask you, okay, Dante, what do you consider yourself? What would you say to me in regards to saying I'm a white male?
Right.
If I say, what is your heritage? What are you gonna say?
My heritage?
Yeah, as far as like your cultural background, like, are you Irish? Are you?
Oh, I'm Polish and Czech.
In Czech.
Yeah, and then
and so why don't white people have issues? Like, why is it just because you're white, why don't you claim your Polish and Czech background, or another person, if you're Irish, say, I'm not white, I'm Irish.
Well,
because we're all different things and we all come from different places.
Right.
It's just,
Well, for me, it's an adjective, right? Like, for me, like, that black dude over there. Like, that's going to help identify that person, especially when you're a minority, right? So, like, but not as many. So that makes it even easier to pick out the person that I'm talking about if I say that.
Right, but once again, it's case by case, because I know at the University of Akron, it's been many times as a student where I have opened up my email and a crime report says a black male between the height of 5'5" and I'm gonna say like 6'1",
okay,
wearing a hoodie, thin or tall or just average build. Okay, so now I'm in that pool to be stereotyped, or I'm in that pool to be racially profiled. Okay. Because I'm 5'5", I'm 150 to 160, in that slim range. And the person sitting beside me that's African American is 5'8", 5'9". So now, are we now guilty because something happened in a parking lot?
Well, I don't think so.
Looking for a person?
But does it say a white male when it is a white guy, or does it just say male?
When it is a white guy, it says white male. It's very specific. but whenever it was a black person,
Oh,
it was
like it
generalized.
ranges. I see what
Yeah.
you're saying. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was always generalized. And I've been racially profiled on campus. Like, what are you doing here? Okay, I'm a student. I'm actually keeping you with a job. Like, what you mean? What am I doing
People
here?
are stupid, man.
Like, oh, can I see your student ID? Okay, I don't have it on me. I'm a student. I forget stuff from time to time. Like, you know,
What is this? Is this Nazi Germany? We got to keep our papers on us to be on
I'm telling you,
campus.
dude. Like, when that happened to me, I'm looking at the guy like, okay, you don't even know who I am, and you're going so hard, and I don't know. I mean, I guess I could have had a little bit of black privilege because of who I knew on campus.
Let's talk about that. What do you think of affirmative action? I think that this is just let me take a guess is what you think. Because you're so much of only you can hold you back. Do you want any advantages just handed to you?
Absolutely not. I want
so then you would be against it inherently.
Yeah, I want to work for everything because I know my people, you know, and when I say my people, I'm saying, you know, my ancestors.
Right.
They worked for anything that they wanted.
Everyone's ancestors did. That's how we are here the way we are today, right? I mean, they built this country.
I want to have that same story.
Yeah.
And you can't really have a story, you can't really build character when shit is just being dropped in your lap.
Right.
And I want to go through the struggle, and I want to be able to say, this is what I did to get to where I'm at today. And you can't do that
by winning the lottery.
Yeah. I mean, it's not fun. It's not fun.
No.
I want to go through the hard times, good times, bad times.
See, we're on the same page. Like, I don't think that black people should be handed things either. I think that should come from within, just like it did with you. You know, like.
Absolutely.
I think that,
and just because we were oppressed for so many years and things
doesn't
that
mean
weren't right,
things should be handed to you and life should be made easier for you, because you were never a slave. Your parents and your grandparents probably were never slaves. Like it goes much deeper than that.
That gives me the opportunity, because they were slaves, that gives me the opportunity to have something, you know, inside of me that's worth fighting for. You know, just because I don't want their hard work and the blood that they shed and the ass whoopings that they received on a consistent basis to go in vain. So therefore, I make sure I do what I have to do on my end to, you know, push forward and keep that from, you know, being something that is going in vain. And I think that to a certain extent, I wish that more people from my community would see that and just work a little bit harder. It's just about like who wants it, and if you don't want it, you're not gonna get it.
Well, you heard me talk about my girlfriend's dad on the last podcast, right?
I didn't get that far.
Oh, you didn't get that far. So pretty much, he came here from China. He was an acrobat in the Chinese circus, and they came here. They toured across the country. This dude had fucking nothing, man. Like, my girlfriend told me that, like, he used to save up like 40 cents so that he could buy a bag of walnuts so that he could feed himself. Like, had fucking nothing. Right? He's a millionaire today. He has I think he has like over $2 million.
Once again, that shows you, if
like,
you want
he doesn't
it,
have
you
an
can
education. He doesn't have he can speak English pretty well, but it's not nearly as good as you or I can. Right. You know what I mean? Dude fucking busted his ass. He worked 2 jobs. Even after he had $1 million, he was working 2 jobs. This motherfucker is crazy,
if
dude.
You want it,
you can do it, man.
You can do anything.
And he's in Vegas, so it's like money is a little bit easier to come by in Las Vegas. Like, there's a lot of people. They have a good economy, right? They have a lot of money coming in. The casinos are kicking people out that are winning.
Oh yeah.
So I mean,
they're making it happen.
Yeah, they're making it happen for sure. And so, like, he picked the right spot. But that, I mean, like, you could pick that spot too.
Yeah.
Anybody can. I mean, it might get oversaturated if everybody did, but
true.
But you know, like, and so Chris, who was he was pretty arguing against me, goes, well, you know, immigrants would naturally have that mentality because they're coming here with nothing. And to me, like, I didn't think of it at the time. Yeah, that's what I kind of think is, like, I didn't think of it at the time, but so what? Like, you're telling me that nobody can have that mentality unless they moved here with nothing? Like, you can't just have nothing and then develop that mentality?
Yeah, it's a lot of Americans who were born here, raised here, whatever the case may be, and they've turned nothing into something. And like today, there are Americans who were born here, raised here, and they have nothing. They don't really want anything, and they don't have anything, period. Right. And there are immigrants who come here who just want peace, and they don't want $1 million. And so they're, living at, regular low class or middle class, and they're okay with that because they want, freedom to not walk around, with their faces covered up all the time, or just freedom to be a woman or freedom to be a man and just be free. It's not always about, financial gain. And I think that's where a lot of people get it confused. Like, oh, well, like that big, family that's from India, like they're like millionaires right now. Well, that's what they aspire to be. That's what they wanted, right? For themselves. They wanted more money. And some people actually come from these places with money and they just continue to grow. And then, they're all educated. They're really smart. They push their kids to like read, write, go to school, and, go beyond just a master's and a bachelor's degree. Get your doctorates or your, Juris Doctorate degree, whatever the case may be. And they're the big attorneys and doctors. And so, I mean, how many American doctors do you know?
A lot.
Okay.
You mean like people from? I thought you meant people that live here and were a doctor.
Oh no,
no, you mean like people that come from other places and then I know what you're saying now. Yeah,
they're everywhere. They're opening up private practices, and not to be funny or anything but they can still barely speak English, but we're in their doctor's offices. Sitting there letting them prescribe us with.
I have an aunt that's one. Like she's hard Chinese. Like we have a tough time understanding her. We do. We like her. We love her. But it's tough to talk to her, man, because her accent is just so thick. Like she can speak English, but man, is it a thick accent. Yeah. Even my girlfriend, who's Chinese, because this aunt is Chinese.
Got you.
My girlfriend's like, man, she's tough to understand.
And it's like that. It's like that, but I don't know. I mean, I guess just like getting back to like the whole scheme of things, I think we're halfway on the right track. As long as everyone gets more comfortable talking about race and stop sweeping it under the rug as if it's not relevant, then I think we'll get closer and closer to what we're trying to accomplish as a whole.
See,
because it can't be an individual effort. Like the black community can't, want racism, to end or cease, and the white community can't just want it. We have to come together and want it together.
Absolutely. And I think, what? I think that most people want that. I really do. I think the people that don't are outliers.
Yeah. And
do you really think that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I don't get the point. Like, what are you gaining from trying to hold a black person down?
Nothing, man.
You're not getting anything.
Nothing.
I don't know.
Like, you shouldn't be worried about how other people are doing anyway, right? You know what I mean? Like,
to be honest, I operate on if, like, what you do don't make me shit, or what you eat don't make me shit. Like, I don't have a problem with anybody doing anything in their own personal lives as long as it don't trickle over into what I got going on, because then that's when we have a problem.
So, and I wouldn't. You think we're on the right track? I don't know if we are. And here's why.
I'm saying, like, we would be on the right track if we open up the floor for the conversation.
Right. But I think that floor is getting smaller and smaller. I really do.
And I think it's getting smaller and smaller because of the media.
I think so too. Yeah.
How they're portraying things. And once again, I'm all about the facts. If you don't have facts, your opinion, my opinion, it's worthless without hard facts behind it.
I mean, because it was like I told you earlier, like I feel uncomfortable saying black. Or not, obviously if I'm talking about the color black, I don't. But like if I'm just saying, oh, the black guy over there, like I'm like, oh, should I say black? Like I hesitate. I do. It's like, should I say black guy over there? Is that okay? Is somebody around me going to get offended? It's just, and you shouldn't. And you don't like the word black, and that's fair enough.
Right.
I don't know. I think it's okay if it's an adjective, right?
Yeah, but I've been in situations where someone, you know my name, but you still refer to me as like, oh, that black guy that sits over there. Like, no, Avery. You know what I'm saying? And
I mean, I
actually
see...
working at my past job at Ron Marhofer, there was a situation where they were talking about where Paula Dean said the N-word, and someone in the office didn't know that she had said that and lost all of her little...
Who's Paula Dean again?
The cooking lady.
Okay.
I think she was doing like a cooking show or something. And I guess during one of her like court hearings, she had said the N-word, and it got out and leaked, and she lost literally everything almost. But anyways, one of the girls in the office didn't know that she had said what she said. And someone else in the office was like, oh yeah, she said nigger. And, I'm really quiet by nature. So I'm sitting over on my side, in my cubicle. And someone's like, oh my God, like Avery's over there. And so she was like, ooh, I didn't mean to say it like that. And she asked,
well, how did you feel about it?
If she should apologize. And my boss said no. I have that recorded in my phone.
So you think you deserve an apology for that?
Absolutely, because I think that is very disrespectful to me. And then for her to ask my boss, another grown-up asking another adult, if I should apologize to this young man that's sitting over there that I could have offended, and for my boss to say no, that lets me know where I stand with my boss.
So you might be disappointed with me because I said it at the end of the last podcast, but I think, but I explained it beforehand. I'm of the George Carlin mindset where I think words are neutral. It's intent that matters, right? So if I drop the N-word right now, but I'm not calling you one. If I'm just saying the word, like kind of like that girl did at your office.
My thing is, if you say it and someone brings it to your attention that I'm there, and you feel so bad you have to, until the point where you're asking someone else if you should apologize. That means consciously, you should come over to me and say, hey, I know what I said was out of line. I apologize.
Do you think it was out of line though?
Absolutely, because we're in an office space. If I was
you're right. In a workspace,
fuck or shit,
it's inappropriate.
It's inappropriate.
It is inappropriate.
Like, oh well, you should apologize to whoever.
What if we weren't in the office space? What if you were just like outside on the street, and this person, and she repeats a word but isn't using it in a derogatory fashion? It's just kind of like, oh yeah, she said this.
Well then that's just repeating it. I get that because it's the
context. Yes.
Right. But in that moment,
in the office space, it's absolutely inappropriate.
She should have came over to me and apologized, and my boss should not have expressed to her that she should not come to me and apologize, because why?
I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
And then once again, if I got up and approached them and expressed how I felt, I think at that moment I would have been deemed the angry black man in the office, because I'm speaking out, on the issue. And that's the problem, because anytime I think African Americans speak up for themselves, it's a problem. But then I see white women, white men, they speak up for themselves instantly. And, that's what they're supposed to do. And they're not the angry white woman or the angry white man. They're right. But then when I do it, it's a problem.
Give me a second. I'm going to get a water. I meant to grab one before we started.
Slipping.
Yeah. So, I probably should wait till I get by the microphone to start talking. I'm gonna edit this out anyway. But so, what do you think about that word in general? Should it be banned?
No, it shouldn't be banned.
Should it be banned? Okay, so
I
what should
think-
happen?
I think if you have no business saying it, you shouldn't say it. But it's how you say it. Like I
Okay.
know when someone's using it for racial intent because I've been called
Right.
the N word by a white person before, and I know what they were trying to do. But
That's
the
such a
word is
lazy
so-
insult, don't you think? Or like
I was just
attack.
about to get to that. Like
Yeah.
the word is so. I guess, if that's the lowest thing you have to throw at me, then trust me, you aren't.
You'll have a
doing
good
shit
argument
at all. Like
Yeah.
nigger. Okay, all right, that's all you got, because I've been through so much that like my skin isn't paper thin. So
Right.
it didn't even touch me actually, but what you were trying to, like, the anger that you were trying to invoke out of me, by saying it, is a whole nother thing.
It's tough for me.
And for me, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Because whenever I was called the N-word, it was actually over the phone. So they could hang up. So that was like, okay, like that's a bitch move.
Yeah,
But,
for sure.
Have a good day.
Yeah. Oh, was it at?
It was at GD.
Oh
yes.
shit. Okay. Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
That is, dude. That's fucked up.
And that was actually the first time I had been called the N-word by another race. And I was
Really?
pretty old, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it could have happened one other time, but I think the kid was too scared to actually go through with it and say it, because I was standing right there. People will say a lot of stuff when you're not actually present and in front of them. And I think that's a problem. Like, if you want to say something, just say it and, see what happens. But I don't know. Like, if you can't say it just readily, then, well, my thing is, if you have to think about saying anything you're about to say, then you probably shouldn't say it. Like, if
no,
if
I
you have to
disagree
think
with that.
twice about it, like, oh, should I really say that? Should I really be saying that? Then I don't think you should be saying it. Because if I have to think twice about doing something or saying something, then that lets me know, then, like, hey, Avery, you thinking way too much about this. Like, then you shouldn't do it. Because naturally, when we do things, we just do it. So when you have to stop and be like, oh, should I do that? Like, it's not, rocket science. You're not putting it together like a weird, big, long equation or anything that you have to, like, be in such deep thought about. So when you have to take yourself to that place of, like, should I be doing this or saying this, then in my personal opinion, you should not.
Yeah.
And that goes for me too.
It's hard for me to argue against that. I mean, the only thing is I think that if someone wants,
because it's almost like
that word, like, should almost never be said by anyone but a black person. But I think that if that's the case, then black people shouldn't say it either.
right. And
If they don't want it that far removed from the vocabulary, or from the public discourse, then they shouldn't
But
be using it either.
my thing is, it's how it's being said.
Right.
How many black people do you hear say nigger? Like,
Okay, so they
none.
do the A.
Right.
Yeah.
But
But how
it's-
many of them would freak out if a white person would say, like, at least 75%, I would say, right?
if the white person would say nigger or nigga.
Either.
I think it's, I don't know. I think it's like, if you say it, you have to, like, go with the wind, see what happens. Because
What does that mean?
I've seen a lot of people react in different ways. I've seen a white person say the N-word and someone give them knowledge. Like, hey, this is why you shouldn't be saying X, Y, Z. I mean, I don't use it in my personal vocabulary.
Right.
So I don't allow my white friends to use it around me.
Right.
And I don't know, I steer that way because it keeps us both on the same
Makes you
playing
not a
field.
hypocrite, too.
Right. And so with that, like I said, I've seen people get schooled, and I've seen people, get some negative backlash physically and verbally.
See, I think that's wrong. I think that the physical violence for any words.
Exactly.
I think no excuse
physical
for that.
violence in general is bad, but if you're in this situation, the person was being provoked, and you can only walk away so many times before you're like, okay, I'm not.
I don't know, man. I think that that's the wrong path. I think that somebody that goes that direction is very easily defeated by ideas.
Yes and no. Because I know for me personally, I'll walk away from a situation, but then if you follow me continuously,
well, that's harassment. Yeah.
It's only so much I can do, as a human, and we have our limits, and you never know what button, is that particular button.
The problem is like,
and I'm not even talking about like in a physically violent way.
Okay.
I'm just saying like, I can explode and get loud, and I don't even get loud.
Right.
But, you could, push that button and now I'm loud, talking, screaming Avery.
Yeah.
But I personally don't let anybody get me to that level because I control me at all times. And I control how I act. I control what I say. And I'm not going to give someone else that power because that's what I see is a transfer of power.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
You say this, now I'm going to do that. No. You say whatever you want to say. And I'm still going to act accordingly because I know what I got going on and I have way too much to lose.
The people that react with violence, then they're now the criminal. The person that used that word isn't going to go to jail, but the person that used violence could easily go to jail. And who's the real loser there?
That's where we have to be mindful of what we say to each other because as a community, I think we're all a community. We're living amongst each other. And we have to find that common ground of, I'm going to respect you, period. And I think that's what we're lacking is respect. A lot of people don't know what respect is or what it looks like because I'm not going to respect you because I don't know you. Why? I haven't done anything to you for you to not want to respect me, just like you haven't done anything to me. Yeah. So naturally, I'm going to respect you until you give me a reason to stop respecting you.
Yeah. That's a good point, man. I mean, yeah, I don't have any arguments against that kind of stuff. I think the only thing that I would say is that, there's always going to be people that are bad. Right. There's always going to be people with the wrong ideas, people that were raised wrong or just, didn't have that implanted in them. And so we're always going to have to deal with that. For sure. But the majority of us can live like that. I think it's very possible that the majority of us can band together and live like that.
Right. And I think in this moment, a majority of us does, but it's a chunk. It's that chunk in the news who wants to
they elevate those people
in the past, and they want to overly, I guess, shine a light on negative stuff because people feed off of negativity more than they do positive things. And I mean, it's a shame, but at the end of the day, we have to sit on these type of platforms and do better than what's being done right now.
Yeah. Let's take another topic that isn't race. You want to?
Yes, but different time.
Different time? You got to get going, man. We got to wrap it up.
Yes.
Dude, we did what, an hour and a half?
I think just about, and my phone has been
blowing up. Yeah, man, you're an important guy over here.
Nah, I try to do what I can.
Yeah,
I help a lot of people. So, and I forgot I was supposed to be doing something for my dad. It just blew my mind. And I'm like, dang, I'm always agreeing to stuff, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
it's
man.
The nature of the beast. I'm only one person.
Hell yeah, man.
But I wanted to come and support the podcast.
It's been fun. It's been so fun, dude. We got to do it again. We absolutely have to. I think it's been informative at the very least.
Yeah. I've learned and got some good takeaways. So
yeah, I wanted to bring up the transgender thing. I wanted to see what you thought.
I will comment briefly on
that.
Yeah,
I want to hear it. All
right. As far as the transgender community goes, I see them as humans. If you want to be a man into a woman or a woman into a man, if that's what makes you happy and if that's what you consider living your best life, I say do it. Because I used to work in the funeral industry as a funeral directing apprentice, and I've seen a lot of death. And I want people to live how they see fit, because you only have one life to live, and it could be gone tomorrow, it could be gone today. I can take my last breath, before I even hit the door. And I want to live my life how I want to live it, and that's how I want everybody else to live their life. Because just because you're a man or a woman, what's the word? Transgender. I mean, I don't hate you. I don't have any opinion.
Those are my feelings too. I mean, you listened. That was one of the first things we talked about.
Right.
And I don't care what anyone does.
Yeah,
I really
don't even have
don't.
an opinion. Just simply because.
Well, do you think that you should be forced to use, for instance, because there's made up pronouns now, like Z, Zin, Zer, G, like all these, there's like 70 something of them.
Okay.
And these particular people, and granted, this is a very small portion of the population, are advocating.
And are you saying like the transgender community?
They're part of the transgender community.
Okay.
They're part of it. They don't represent the whole thing.
Gotcha.
But they're trying to say that I'm neither male nor female.
Okay.
And then there's laws in Canada, there's laws in California, and there's laws in New York that says if you don't use these pronouns that these people are saying that they prefer to be referred by, then you're going to be punished by law. And that's where I have an issue. And also, like, I don't necessarily believe that somebody that thinks they're a man is a man and somebody that thinks they're a woman. Like, I don't necessarily believe that. Okay. And I don't think that I should be forced to believe that either. Like, I don't believe
in forcing people to believe anything that they don't want to believe.
Exactly.
But if you come up to me directly and say, hey, Avery, call me Zer or whatever you said.
Pronoun. But here's the problem is, like, you don't like being that black guy over there. So why should anyone who is present be using a pronoun when that person is present anyway? You know what I mean? Like, what is the point of that? Like, I'm not going to be like, he did this. Like, I'm not going to talk to the podcast and be like, he did this. He, when I'm referring to you.
Right.
Like, that's not something
I'm probably just going to use your name.
Yeah, exactly. And that I don't care. Like, if you want to change your name, anybody can change their name, right? And it doesn't matter how ridiculous it is. That's their name now.
Yeah.
So, but these pronouns, it's not even that I wouldn't use them, but it's just that it's the fact that the government is telling people that they have to use certain speech. And if you don't, you can be thrown in jail. I think that sets a precedent for them to take away our freedoms. And they're already taking them away one at a time, just off the shelf, just picking them off the shelf one at a time. And I think that sets a dangerous precedent for a place that I don't want to be.
Right. When it comes to that, I mean, just honestly, if they want to, be called him or her, like on a consistent, like her or him this or him that, or he, then I'll do it just to keep the peace. But I mean, I'm not going to go out of my way to do somebody wrong if they want to be called something strange.
What if religion, and that was something that I was listening to a different podcast.
Because I think it takes no effort to say.
Does it though? When they're 79 and you got to remember?
No, I won't. I won't even try to remember. I will let that particular person know and or group. If you want me to specifically address you by a certain way, you have to let it be known, because I'm not going to read your mind. And I'm not about to do.
But would you even remember
either. Though? If they made it a point to tell me, then yes, I have a very good memory, so I don't really forget much.
But I don't think I just look.
But
maybe I would do it. Maybe I wouldn't. I'm not even going to take a stance.
You're a rebel, Dante. You're a rebel. Like, you just like.
But no, I'm very against government involvement in anything.
Right.
I think that in order for us to be free,
I think government should deal with government stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
When it gets to, like,
That's a
human
social
lifestyle.
thing. I'm perfectly okay with people thinking that I'm a complete asshole because I don't want to partake in this. But I don't think that anyone who doesn't want to partake in it should be given a citation or thrown in jail because they don't want to use these words. I think that's ridiculous.
I think the best thing is if you don't want to use that vocabulary, then don't even address them at all. I would just be like, you know what, I don't have time for it.
And I never have. I never have had to. It's worth mentioning that I've never had to. But that doesn't mean that that couldn't happen. I mean, transgenderism, the left tends to elevate people. The more victim status you have, the higher like you are on this victim totem pole, which then gives you virtue. Because you've heard of virtue signaling, right?
No.
Virtue signaling is this thing where you kind of grandstand and declare your virtue to everyone, and it's kind of like it's a status. It is. It's kind of like the more virtuous you are, the better. And so and so like somebody who goes out on a limb and says, like, I mean, the only thing I can think of right now is the Starbucks thing, where like all these white folk were around saying this is wrong, when we don't actually know that it is. Like, what if they really were just getting kicked out because they're sitting there being rude, and this business doesn't want these two guys who are making a scene because they weren't allowed to use the bathroom because they didn't buy anything in their store? You know what I mean? Like, what if that's actually what happened? Right. But you've got all these people that instantly jump to racism. It must be this, because we live in a racist society. We live in a white supremacist society. And maybe it's hard, and I acknowledge that maybe it's hard for me to see that because I'm not a white supremacist. I don't consider myself a racist. Maybe some people will. And for sure there are people that are calling people racist that aren't racist, right? For sure that's happening. You don't think so?
To a certain extent, because I think at any point in time, if someone reaches out and say, hey, you have racist tendencies or you're racist, then there has been something you must or someone must have done to trigger that, because it's almost like hate. You know, no one's gonna say I hate this person just because. I think it's something that's triggered, and I think racist, you know, or being called racist is something very strong, and something had to be triggered for that to be.
Okay, here's what I think. I think that the word racism has been boiled down to be so broad that there's so many things that could be considered racist right now. And I don't think that just because somebody does something that could be considered racist at some point, that makes them a racist. And I don't think, because here's the thing. I mean,
I do think people have racist moments.
Yeah, but does that make you a racist?
If you continue.
I mean, if you're constantly doing racist things, obviously you're probably a racist, right?
If you continue,
but that doesn't mean you can't slip up, and that doesn't mean, and also the intent matters, right?
My thing is,
like, I can say the N-word right now, but that doesn't mean that I had the intent matters, is what I'm saying, right?
Well,
like, why did I say it? What was the purpose?
A lot of things happen, like Paula Deen said the N-word. Don Imus said nappy headed hoes. Like, how many times have they used that language? You know, it's one thing, like I said, like, are you apologizing because you said it, or are you apologizing because you got caught? Right. And a lot of people, they have these actions that they do repeatedly behind closed doors, and then, like you said, like we both just said, like, you know, you might have a moment and you get caught. Now, are you apologizing because you got caught, or are you apologizing because, like, damn, I said this and I know it's wrong and I know that I should not think or talk this way, and I'm sincerely sorry, or I'm sorry because, damn, I'm about to lose my job.
Yeah. Well, for sure,
So that's where I have a hard time trying to distinguish, you know, people's sincerity when it comes to I'm not racist. Like, okay, are you really or are you not? Because what I've seen and, you know, how you've been acting has been showing me that, like, you're definitely racist. And I don't want you apologizing because you got caught. I want you apologizing because you're sincerely
you think what
sorry.
you did was wrong.
Yes.
Like, not just because you're about to face some consequences that you don't want to have to
face.
What
gets me is, like, a lot of people, they sit back and be like, well, I didn't think it was that bad. Like, well, what did you think? Like, yeah, it is.
Well, let me give you an example. Like, and I hate to bring Donald Trump into this, but because obviously,
He's a fan favorite.
yeah, but he got called a racist for something that wasn't racist, and he was criticizing someone who was black. Like that was. I mean, it's okay to criticize people like that. Has a lot of times,
but as a president, I think Donald Trump should know better. Like
than to criticize someone who's black.
Absolutely.
I think that. Well, no, hang on.
Done a lot of
All
stuff,
he
even to white
criticized their
people.
work.
Yeah, but that's still
No,
disrespectful. I mean, he's a president. That's why.
No.
I mean, I don't
criticism
even really,
is not disrespectful. I disagree with you.
If it's not constructive, he wasn't trying to. Did he?
I don't remember. I can't remember specifics. I can't even remember exactly who he was criticizing. But all I remember.
I'm sure Donald Trump didn't add any kind of incentive as to, okay, this sucked, but you should do it like this. You know, I'm sure he just said whatever the guy did sucked.
But that doesn't make it racist.
Has he talked about any white people in a negative way?
Yeah, a lot.
I mean, I'm sure he has.
No, tons. What do you mean?
Well,
look
I'm
at
sure.
Steve
Well,
Bannon. Look at his tweets, man. If you go through the tweets, there's tons of them.
And once again, I don't even think him as a president, I don't even think he should be using his social media like that.
No, I agree with you.
Like I guess he's like, well, I don't guess. He is really making a mockery of politics.
Yeah.
He is really, bringing down the value of what I used to think a president was. And just simply because how he carries himself. He's not even a good speaker. It's just bad all across the board. And I'm actually disappointed in his constituents who voted for him. Like, because you should know better. Like, of course, okay, you didn't want to vote for Hillary, but, there were other Republicans that were running.
I don't think that you can take that stance. I don't think that's
there were
fair.
other Republicans that were running.
Well, okay,
and I get it. It's a fair race, but it wasn't a fair race because clearly they're doing all these investigations in terms of how the voting was hacked. So, I mean, this whole presidency has been tarnished, if you ask me, from start to finish. I mean, at this point, I say just let him run his last few laps. I can confidently say that I can't see him being reelected. However,
I think if the left continues the way they have by trying to take people's guns, how do you feel about that, by the way?
Gun control?
Yeah.
I don't think anything will change until something, and I hate to say this, but until it hits home. And when I say hit home, until someone in the Republican office who is continuing this nonsense of saying these people who are doing these mass killings are mentally ill, until it hits their home and something happens to them in a negative way in regards to guns, nothing's going to change. And I believe that wholeheartedly.
Isn't that been the argument of the Republicans the whole time? Because the argument of the left has been, let's get rid of the guns.
Well, I'm saying
nobody wants to talk about. Here's something that nobody ever talks about: is all, or maybe I think it's 95% of. It's very high. It's in the 90s of mass shooters have been either on SSRIs or recently gone off of SSRIs. You know what those are?
No.
Psychotropic drugs. They're the drugs that people take for depression.
But these students who are going to schools and doing these shootings, I don't believe they're on medication. I don't believe they.
Well, no, but that's a fact, and I'm not just talking about the school shootings. I'm talking about all mass shootings, the Vegas shooting, the Orlando shooting, this one in Parkland. Like all of them were either recently on or recently gone off psychotropic drugs, and nobody talks about that.
Okay, I mean that may be the case, but however, until it hits home, nothing is going to change.
So your point, may still stand, but. Well, what do you think should be done?
I think they should continue allowing guns as normal, like people have been running around with them. For instance, just last year, the year before last, a guy was walking around Akron with an automatic gun. I don't know.
With a rifle?
Yeah.
You can't have an automatic gun. Well, you can if you have a permit.
He had something, but it was very evident. He was walking, parading up and down the street with it. and the police couldn't do anything about it.
It's an open
And
carry. Yeah, you're allowed to do that.
It's just when you put fear in people, and he knew he was like scaring people because it's all over Facebook. It's warnings like don't go to this area because a guy is walking around with the gun, being delusional. But in once again, until something negative happens to the people in power, then that's the only time I believe like it's gonna click. Like, okay, now we need to get some of these guns off of the street because there's a
What do you
big
think
black
when
market.
that happens? What do you think happens when that happens?
I mean, it's gonna be ugly, but at the end of the day,
I think it gets ugly. I think that
yeah, it is gonna get ugly, but they'll see how normal people who don't have control over policy change. I mean, and yes, they do have some control, but just because we vote for something, they have the bigger say.
they never go with what we want either.
Exactly.
It's always in the corporate interest. But let me ask you this. Let me ask you if you're aware of this. Did you know that the murder rate in London just surpassed the murder rate in New York?
No, I wasn't.
They don't have guns in England. They're banned. Right. Then everybody's getting stabbed in London. That's what's happening there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like two different ponds. Like, they're stabbing, we're shooting.
Right.
And I think
I think my point is that you can't blame the instrument. You can't blame the thing that
you can't. But if you can do something about it in regards to control, I don't think that the Democrats want the guns to be just all seized and taken off the street.
I think they do.
I think they want more control over who is allowed to have a firearm. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you can't give me proper
Here's the thing, Avery. I think
then
that
you should not be carrying a gun.
If they came to the table,
if
they came to the table with that narrative, I think that they could be met. But I don't think that they carry that narrative. I mean, you see it on signs everywhere. Every time there's a rally, it says, "Yes, I'm here to take your guns. Yes, let's ban guns." Like, there's plenty of people that actually do want that, and those are the people that we hear from, right? Those are the people that, for some reason, represent this side, and then there's the other side where they want to keep them. And that's all we ever get to. I don't know if you knew, but my girlfriend was at the concert in Las Vegas.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't know that.
She was like just a couple rows from the front, and people directly in front of her, directly to her right and behind, all got hit and killed. She hid under the stage while it was happening. She called me on the phone. It was about 1 a.m, and she texted me first, and she said, "Babe, I love you so much. This might be the last thing I ever said to you. There's a gun shooting." And I called her. I was awake, and so I was just trying to give her guidance. Like, I was trying to figure out what was going on, and I turned on YouTube. They had there's a Fox News stream, and I turned that on, and then they started covering it. But I talked to her recently about it, and I was like, "So what do you think?" And she says she thinks that guns shouldn't be taken, but that obviously something needs to be done. But the problem is that we never get to that point. We never get to the discussion because people are so aggressive in their stances, and they won't give any ground. And it's also because all they do is take that aggressive stance, right? And I'm blaming both sides, but I especially don't like when I see, we want to take the guns away, because those same people push for socialism. Are you familiar with Venezuela?
Venezuela?
Yeah,
I'm familiar with it, but I don't. Do they have something going on over there?
So you're not familiar? Yeah. So apparently, so what's going on there is Venezuela has gone full social state.
Okay.
The wealth has been taken from everyone at the bottom. People are starving to death. And it's been given to all of the people in charge's friends. So everyone who was friends with the person at the top got all the wealth. Everyone else got pushed down to nothing. They have no economy. They have no workforce. And do you know how they made it so that there are less I forget how to put this, but they you know how they reduced the child starvation rate in Venezuela? They made it illegal for the hospitals to report the death due to starvation. Like, Venezuela is a complete failed state, and it's thanks to socialism. And the path to socialism is divide the country. It's kind of where we are right now, right? It's where people are they're very not center, right? Like they're either one side or the other.
Right.
The second step is take away the guns. Because if there aren't any guns to fight back, and people argue, well, how do you fight a government with tanks and planes and stuff? And I argue, well, we've been fighting a war in the Middle East for 17 years, and they seem to be doing okay. So maybe it is possible.
Right.
But
I mean,
I don't trust the government. And
I think they just need a little bit more regulation on guns.
I think that's reasonable. I think
and
that
once again, like, if I'm a gun shop owner and you're trying to buy a firearm, if you can't provide to me, proper documentation in regards to, for me to do a background check to see if you're a felon who can't have guns.
I'm pretty sure they already do that.
But I thought that was one of the problems. Like, they didn't want people to. I don't want to have a background check just to get a gun.
I don't think that's the case. I think that's a federal regulation that they have to do a background check. We should probably look this up.
We should, because.
But yeah, man, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know
just
anymore.
once again, I think nothing's really going to change
Until it hits home. I think that's a fair point.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair point.
Yeah, because you only change things that directly affects you, and I think that's how the government is operating. Like, they're only changing things that is directly affecting them.
Yeah.
And if it's not in their best interest, then they're not going to do it.
Well, you can always tell if something that the government does is not in the people's interest when it's a bipartisan effort to get the thing passed. Like the Patriot Act, like just any war. That's something that I really miss about the left, man, is they used to be anti-war, and now they're just, it feels like anti-white anymore. And if you watch, and maybe I'm in the wrong rabbit hole, but if you look at the things, I mean, look at the campus there. Oh, here's something that I wanted to bring up to you. Do you know what 4chan is?
4chan? No.
Yeah, 4chan is a website where it's kind of a trolling website. It's where people that like do trolling go. So they came up with this plan. They went to a university. I can't remember which one, but they posted, and it was actually hilarious because I'll get there. But they printed out papers that said it's okay to be white, and they posted them all over this college campus, and they put in their post. And then this was a news story. This is how I found out about it. It was a news story on the local news media. And they're like, racists take over, like they start posting stuff at college campus. And you and I both know that a sign that says it's okay to be white is not racist at all. Like, it's
right.
And so they even said in their 4chan post, like, we're gonna do this, and then the biased leftist media will pick this up and call us racist, and it'll just prove them. And the crazy thing was that the local news place even put that post in their story. So they knew they were being had, and they still went along with the story, man.
I'm telling you, it's
just
all about perception.
I think they're there to divide.
Believe something, then they're going to just really pretty much run with it. And that's the crazy control that media and the news have over people's weak minds. Like, anytime you allow someone else to think for you, then in my opinion, like, I just can't really even have a conversation.
You know what it is too, Avery? I think it's social media too, right? Like, it's
so
much of Facebook is just I got rid
out of control.
I deleted the app off my phone, so I still have, like, if I go on a computer, I can get on it. But it's like I have to make an effort, right? It's not just there. If I'm bored, I can go through it. But I think that so many people are on there and they're just reading the headlines.
Yeah.
Right? They're just reading the headlines, the clickbait headlines that are designed to I can't think of the right word, but they're designed to make an emotion in you.
Yeah.
They're designed to create an emotion inside of you, and then, like, you get outraged and stuff. And that's one of the reasons I stopped getting on there, is because I'm tired of just being angry all the time.
Yes. And then the fact that people can hide behind their computers and say,
oh yeah, they can go nuts.
And,
it's harder on Facebook because like you actually have a name and a picture.
Yeah, I mean, if you put
but like
up
but like if like YouTube
fake
comments.
accounts and YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're really, I don't know, people, they have a lot to say when it comes to being online.
Yeah,
like they have a lot to say, and I've heard where the internet is really sensitive, like in regards to emotion.
Mm-hmm.
So like you can be a celebrity and get on your Instagram or whatever and say something, and then it'll be like an outrage, like, oh my God. But like worse shit has been said
for sure
and done, and we freak out because of a celebrity with social influence.
Mm-hmm.
They say something, and I think we need to really be focusing on the big picture, which is, why is Donald Trump still the president? Why are we even still arguing about people being racist? And why can't we all sit down and have adult-like conversations and bring light to racism, and also try our hardest to, go into a different direction?
Mm-hmm.
And, we pick our paths, but at the end, we really have to just find like a common ground where we say like, okay, enough is enough. Like, let's cut the shit.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, how long can we continue talking about this? Like, about gun control. Like, okay, it's wrong. We need to fix it. Racism. Okay, it's clearly wrong. We need to fix it.
It's lazy.
But we just keep talking about like the old shit that has happened. We keep talking about the current shit that's going on, but we're not talking about a solution. Yeah. Like, I always hear the problem, but where's the solution at? And so when we get to the solution ground, it's almost like two parties can't sit down and say, okay, this is what I think. I'm going to be quiet and listen. Okay, this is what I think on the other side. And it's like they want to talk over each other, and okay, like, just sit down. Like, you guys are politicians, and I'm sure you're all attorneys at some point. So that you have to get facts. You have to have concrete shit. Because if it's not facts, if it's all based off opinion, it's not going to hold. Just like your opinion doesn't hold up in court.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they need to take the same mindset when it comes to having the conversation about these big issues that's going on.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can see why you wouldn't like Donald Trump being president. I, for one, am glad Hillary Clinton isn't. I'm not thrilled that Donald Trump is, but I liked the idea of the draining the swamp. I liked I didn't vote at all. And if I did, I probably would have voted for that Gary Johnson guy because he's a libertarian and that's what I am. But Hillary scared me for sure. Like, she was talking about pretty much straight war with Russia. Mm-hmm. Like, when you look at foreign policy and like, so what has Donald Trump done specifically that's made your life worse?
Donald Trump, he's done a lot.
Okay.
But to make my life worse, no president can do that. Like,
okay, all right. Well, then let's make it a little bit more general. Black people, and what has Donald Trump done to make black people's lives worse?
Every time he opened up his mouth, like, whether it's black,
it makes their lives worse, though.
Absolutely. Like,
okay.
He can't do, at this point, Donald Trump, he can't do anything right. He said that comment about. Okay, let me stay on topic.
You can't say you can't do anything right. That is far.
I mean, that's my opinion.
Okay,
that's my opinion. And when I say he can't do anything right, it's like, damn, like every time, I look at the news or anything related to him and his presidency, it's just one thing after the next. Like, be a president. Like, I have no real issue with Donald Trump, other than him not being a legit president. And
so you don't like
that scares me
how
more.
He's made the office. Well, you could argue that the left has done the same. I mean, Stephen Colbert called called Donald Trump, who was the president at the time, his mouth a cock holster. That has never been done before. Like, he's not the only one denigrating that position. There's people in the public eye that are doing the very same thing, and they're doing it because he's there, granted, but I mean, if you want him to uphold this position,
like anything he says, but he started off, you know, his whole campaign was racially driven.
I think I need to see more evidence of that. I'm not going to say it wasn't, but I think that happened.
How much more evidence?
Well, hang on. Let me finish the thought. I think that like every single time I saw him on Facebook. Were you still on Facebook during the campaign?
Yes.
Okay, so when I was too, and every single time it was a cut up video that I'm sure was intended to make him look worse than what he was actually saying. But I mean, if you look at other videos where you go to one of his campaign rallies and he goes, they say we don't like the black people and all that, but we're going to do great things about the black people. And then everyone in that crowd cheers. Like, it makes me go, okay, what's really going on here? Like you're the one that says, you know, I need to see the facts. And if you don't have the facts...
I've watched live feeds, like not chopped and screwed or edited down.
And what specifically did you see then? Because I'm open-minded. I'm open-minded. I'm not saying...
a president who spoke to people who basically could hear him. And the only people that I saw listening were older white men and women. And it's a shame that they don't even know that he has cut so many things for the elderly that it's crazy. I mean, and that's not affecting me, but I have grandparents. Mm-hmm. And when you take out Meals on Wheels and stuff like that, he ended that. And, you know, you're taking food.
How did he... Was Meals on Wheels a public...
Yeah, that's a government mandated, you know...
Was it?
Yeah, it's like...
I feel like I volunteered for them. I thought that was a nonprofit.
That is not a nonprofit. Like,
are you sure?
I am positive.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
It's not a nonprofit, and there are probably nonprofit Meals on Wheels organizations. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna say it's not, but I don't know. Like I just don't like the way he carries himself. Maybe that's just it. But there are things that he's done that, you know, I probably can't speak on intelligently just
Face
yet.
This way a little bit. Come on.
But I'll definitely do my research, and next time I sit in front of this mic, I will have hard facts on why I believe he should not be president, because I feel so strongly about it that, I mean, it's not even about Democrat or Republican. Like, he should not be the president of the United States of America.
Probably not.
Period.
But I think that it kind of shows how ridiculous we've gotten. I think...
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And I think people are just so afraid right now that any kind of change other than political change is what they are reaching at. Because it's something new. It's a new idea. And Donald Trump is a new idea. Mm-hmm. You know, what can he bring to the table that these politicians haven't been able to bring? Because, yes, of course, Hillary Clinton has spent her entire life in the White House, literally at some kind of capacity, whether the First Lady, Secretary of State, countless other jobs.
Dude, I heard that, I should tell you, like, Hillary, I heard this fucking horrible story about her, where, like, she's just like she has her face for the cameras, and then she has her real who she is. Mm-hmm. And it was from a Navy SEAL named I should know. It's in my phone if I knew where that was. I'm subscribed to his podcast, but I can't remember his name right now. I'm not the best at that. But he had a buddy that was like a guard in the White House, or like working as a serviceman in the White House, and she walked past and he said something like, you know, "Good morning, ma'am," or "Good afternoon, man." And she like stopped, turned around, and was like, "Don't ever fucking talk to me." Like, was like that kind of a bitch, dude. And you know what? I could see that. I could definitely see, like, I mean, you watch the debates and you see that really weird kind of like psychopath smile that she has, you know, like where it's not like a real smile, but she's there like,
you know what? When I see,
you know what I mean?
Clinton, like, she's an attorney first.
Okay.
And anybody who has went through law school or have any kind of legal background, you know how to play your cards.
Right.
And what you've seen is her literally demolishing, and I'm not, picking a side.
Right.
But she had a mental intent of making sure that she spoke correctly and that she did what she had to do in order to get her point across through Donald Trump, because his stamina wasn't there during their debates. His facts were just, you know how they do the fact check list. His facts were just wrong all over the place. And that's, poor writing on his department. And, they could have steered him into a different direction, but that's neither here nor there. But Hillary, she's a calculated woman. And, it's all over her body. You can just look at her and be like, okay, I know you're thinking about something.
Well, you heard, did you hear that recent speech that she gave? I think she was in like Sweden or something. But where she pretty much blamed the husbands of the wives that didn't vote for her. Like, she's like, oh, well, their husbands got their, like, she's going around on a blame tour, blaming, America. It's like, do you really want someone like that?
I think to a certain extent, like, we all have to tell our truth.
I think we all.
That's her truth. If, that's what she want to tell. And, Donald Trump can go around and say the same thing. Like, well, I didn't win because, black people thought I was racist.
Yeah.
Like, if that's his truth, then, he's
well, that's
more than
fair
welcome
enough,
to tell
but
it.
it's not a good move.
It's
right?
not.
Because you're
It's
alienating, and like the whole part where she called Donald Trump supporters deplorables, like that was also not a good move, right? Because that's you're alienating a whole group of people. Like,
I'm sure Donald Trump called Hillary supporters something.
He didn't though. Like, it certainly didn't make the mainstream.
I'm sure
the deplorable speech, right? Like, I don't really want to get this podcast to be like Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton
right.
debate. I don't really. That's not what I want. But
I'm sure they both said equal things, to hit each other below the belt and make it unfair. But the natural thing about it is he shouldn't be president. Maybe she shouldn't be president either.
I could probably get behind neither of them.
And
I think a lot of people feel that way, but they just were forced into this point of the lesser two evils, and that's what happened.
True. And when you have money, influence, and
I know you're not trying to say Hillary Clinton don't got money.
Oh no, I know she has money.
She got a fuck ton of money.
Like, I'm not putting it past her, Bill, Chelsea, none of them. I know they're all probably stacked and sitting right. But however,
you used to sing, you had me, babe, before you shut your mouth.
Sometimes you have to let
But I still
the
hear
chips
that
fall where they may,
voice
and they
sing
fell
little songs
hard.
above my
It sure did.
stuck inside that melody.
All right, man. I think we gotta wrap it up.
Yeah.
You said you gotta leave like a half hour ago. What time is it?
the
now?
conversations got too good,
Yeah.
so I have to.
I think we made the
speak my
2
piece.
hours, dude.
I think
We
have
did
the
it.
2 hours.
We got it. We made it.
Got it.
We made it. All right, man. It's been real.
I hope none of this comes back and bite.
I wanna rip my script apart. I wanna love you where you are. I just don't know. When we find starts feeling like 500 nights alone. When we find starts feeling like you might leave 500 more. 500 days since I looked
Hey guys, it's Dante. We can't get everything right. We certainly try. Tell you what, tell us why we're wrong. Email us at whenwefightpodcast@gmail.com. That's whenwefightpodcast@gmail.com. See you next time.